Hey guys, me again, Orc Slayer. What if where we last left off? Well, I'm gonna go do the what if Deku was a big brother. Now, big brothers are essentially a mix between a big sister and a big daddy from bioshock. Now, they aren't canon from what I believe. So, let's see, to continue, sorry, shake off the yawn. How this will be starting off is, well, they're in the Fallout universe, technically. I'll set that scene. Well, it's a mix between the Fallout universe and the My Hero Academia universe. Quirks still exist. Adam existed before that. See, how that all came about is, I believe his name is not John Adams, what's the guy who made Rapture, or the Bioshock place where you go, which I believe is called Rapture. Oh, what was his name? Sorry, I'm trying to remember it, but it's been a while since I've heard his name. His name. Anyways, he still builds up his nice, beautiful underwater city with Adam. This is before, this is during the first appearance of quirks and such. In a sense, too, as he still believes in the whole you should work. He's essentially the ideal of capitalism. If I remember, he wanted everyone to build themselves up, not to give handouts or anything. So, with that being said, he still builds up the thing, but it came with another thing. When other people started to feel threatened by quirks, like, say, the rich and even poor alike became threatened by quirks, John Adam, I think his name is John Adam. I can't remember. But essentially what he does is, it's not like, he's not racist, or what be classified as a racist as it? Quirk users versus non-quirk users? Anyways, he doesn't really take an issue with them, but he does see this as an opportunity to make more money. The abilities of Adam, some see the opportunity to sort of offset the balance, you could say. So they start presenting quirkless, they go with underground people who want help with Adam. And people are mistaking it as quirks, but everyone notices, after a while, they, can't use it anymore. With actual quirks being more powerful than people without quirks. The early versions of quirks, I believe, were strong to begin with. With this sort of thing, what's happening now is that it's essentially, Adam is being classified as a illegal drug, sort of. People are fighting against it, back and forth. Some are saying technically it isn't a drug, it just alters your genetic structure. Others are saying that it does have side effects that they've taken notice of, such as withdrawal syndromes and such. Rapture is still going on as it did. Rich, famous, and, rich people. As then they continue forward with the storyline. Eventually, like I said, quirks keep on appearing. More and more powerful with each passing year or even decade. I think it was My Hero Academia takes place 100 or 200 years in the future. So, I'll say to counteract that, John Adam, or Mr. Adam, I think is his actual name, decides to use Adam to offset his lifetime. Because I believe he did that at the beginning, but I'm not too sure. Well, anyways, they use Adam, some people use Adam to extend their lives beyond a natural period. But the catch is they have to keep taking Adam. Either in small doses, or if you want it to last for a longer period of time, you gotta take large doses, which ain't really recommended for some. So, eventually, splicers start appearing on the surface. If you know what splicers are, well, horrifying, if you take notice of that. Rapture, as soon as those reports start coming in of this substance sort of turning people into these monstrosities, is the best word to describe them, it would sort of start getting shut down. And if you may ask, it's because people ran out of money, or when like Adam was getting cracked down on even harder. Eventually, they just stopped having to produce it. So those who relied heavily on it started, turning into splicers. That being said, John Adams, I can't remember his actual name. I think it is John Adams. Sorry for this. His name is Andrew Ryan. Sorry about that. I got confused because Adam is a main component of the game, with John Adams just sort of, being the most common name that I could think of. It just sort of fused together. Sorry about that. But his name's Andrew Ryan. Well, where was I going with this? Let's see. Yes, I was talking about how splicers are starting to appear on the surface. Andrew, seeing how bad this could be, literally cuts off all atom supply to the surface, saying that it's not worth the authorities coming down on them. And truly, it is not. And even if they did, it would take a bit of time to attack Rapture, because I believe they do have defenses, but maybe I'm wrong. And that would be a pretty easily won victory if, one bomb just goes. Anyways, as everything progressed, Rapture starts to slowly decline, since people stop producing stuff for them. Stop offering stuff. And eventually, Rapture ends up how it is today. Now, the Splicers, Big Daddies, Little Sisters are all still down there in Rapture. Some families never got to see their little girls again, and some parents who went looking never came back, unfortunately. Now, as for the rest of this, Miss Lamb, I just remember her name being Lamb. Yeah, Lamb. She was very preachy. What was her name? Orion Lamb? No. It's just Miss Lamb, I guess. Miss Lamb. Sophia Lamb, that's the word. I was missing the first name. Sophia Lamb is still doing her thing in Rapture. What she did essentially is she made a community where Adam is shared amongst everyone. Communism. Never mind, joking. Anyways, she still does that. And she's still doing her experiments to kidnap people, or children. Specifically little girls, so that way she can turn them into little sisters who will eventually level up and grow into big sisters. Now, the whole thing with Adam is still illegal. And it was a big thing for some people with quirks, actually. Scientists, through limited and highly controlled testing, were given permission to test Adam on certain individuals with quirks. They could be voluntary, or they couldn't. Yeah, some of this shit they did was not quite legal. Anyways, as they sort of spliced quirks and atoms together, it would have done one of two things. Either turn into a catastrophic monster, in the sense, say if someone had an ice quirk and they tried to use Adam to give them incinerate, that could turn them into similar to Todoroki, but the fire would be extremely lessened. It would just be like an incinerate from the game. It's not very powerful. But for others, let's say someone with, what was that thing called? I think it was called Beehive or something. You'd send a bunch of bees at people. They tried to combine that with a mind controlling quirk, well, not mind controlling. I guess a mind controlling quirk, or the ability to talk with insects. Well, let's say this guy wasn't quite stable. He had gone to many things in the past. So instead of attacking the actual target, he started thinking of how he wanted to kill everyone in this facility. Immediately, out of his arms, just tons and tons of like bees or whatever came out of your arms, started flying out and just going crazy and stinging everyone. They eventually had to get the people with fire quirks to like burn the things to cinder, as well as the guy, because they wouldn't stop coming out of him. And that's what I mean when it turned to like catastrophic. If he had gotten out, well, they had no idea how long it would be until he stopped releasing insects from his hand. To continue forward with what I'm saying, villains and such still try to get their hands on some Atom. Atom is a finite resource now, like in the sense that nobody else can get it unless they go directly to Rapture, or they find old, like I'd say Rapture can last a long time if taken care of properly. Or if they find a really, really old stash that's like dug deep underground, where from that they could possibly either jab it in them if it's like doesn't have anything and it just gives you a random boost, or there's specific ones with highly specified things that would do for you. It's sort of like that. Not all Atom is stable. Sorry. But during this time, let's say there's been a resurgence of Atom somehow. Authorities are like, how? As they're like looking through the details, they go back like hundreds to maybe like 150 years, however long, and they start looking over the whole details on the what was referred to as the Atom Crisis. In the sense, like, yeah, shit got bad. Like, some places have monuments or like entire history museums dedicated to Atom and Andrew Ryan's for how he made it and what it did to them as a society, which brought people closer to people with quirks and damned people who actually ever had association with Atom or anything like that. So, you know how that goes. Anyways, Sophia Lamb is starting to run out of little sisters. She can't just keep on stealing them here and there. Because from the looks of it, after subject Delta, Delta has not yet, or hasn't really lost his little sister. If you don't know who Delta is essentially like one of the first big daddies. He's more in control, you could say. He actually cares about the little sister, or his little sister, instead of just being sort of like a shepherd or a guard dog who just watches over them. He legitimately cares about her. With that being said, well, let's just say she starts going through other means. She starts promising organizations, or a organization or two, that if they help her, she can get them Atom, and that's all it would take. Little sisters. And she says that she and some people down here would also like some boys around teenage age. Now I'll give you the backstory of who's there. As we cut to Izuku Midoriya. He's been hopping from orphanage to orphanage, getting into fights quite often. When he was discovered he didn't have a quirk, well, Inko was still the way she was. She's nice. I'm never changing her. Fuck, who don't like when people do. That just doesn't seem right. I know I had her abandon Deku when he was like, what, 5 or something? When he was turned into a monster? I think that's how I had it happen, but I'm not entirely sure. Oh well, my apologies. Anyways, these people are starting to gather up people with either not quirks, but they're just gathering people up like they asked. They asked about, do they have to have quirks, or She says, Sophia Lamb says no, saying that Adam is a highly mutation-like product. They could add whatever quirk they have things that would work around it, or work with it. Either way, it's a win. As that's being said, like, alright, Eri and, well, not Eri, maybe, Deku's sent to the orphanage, as he's just riding there. As it's just like, as he steps off, the people like welcome him. Hello, Izuku Midoriya. I'm your headmaster and she's second master. Where do I go? Deku's had a rough life. Give him a break. She's like, oh, well, this way. Your room's up, corridor to the left, two doors to the right. I mean, cool, yeah. As it's like, yes. As he walks in there and walks to the door. As he's like, oh, home sweet home. With that being said, Deku waits there for some time. Just like getting settled in, you could say. Eventually making it around time for dinner. Eventually coming down for dinner time, you could say. So he makes his way down, he runs into a few kids. As a guy, he's like, hey, what's your name? Slapping Deku in the back, saying, hey, what's your name? He's like, Izuku Midoriya. He's like, well, I'm Kiroshima. As he, sticks out his hand, Deku's like, it's a pleasure to meet you, Kiroshima. Being very polite. Not being timid. There'll be reasons for that. As then Deku and him just start talking. So how long have you been here? He's like, oh, I just got here. With him having Mina's hand with my little sister, Mina. It's like little sister. As he's looking at Mina, then looking at him, then looking at Mina again, he's like, what? He's like, ah, yeah, sorry. We just called I lived with her. My parents adopted her. Well, not my parents. I was adopted into her family before they had her. Then, some accidents happened, and, well, that's how it goes. As Mina looks at it, it's like, oh, it's okay, Mina, it's okay. As she's around 5-ish. She's like, oh, and she's pink with horns. She's like, yep. Neat. So, as they continue to walk forward, eventually everyone gets to the dinner table. There's around, at a random number, 16. There's 16 little sisters and not 14, but around 14 teenagers. Teenager guys. Around all 15, 16. Deku's like, this is kind of, as he whispers into Kirishima's ear, he's like, this is weird, isn't it? It's like, well, I would say 13, not 15. It's like, yeah, what do you mean? He's like, look, 16, girls around 5 years old, and then 14 guys around 13 years old. I know this is probably me being suspicious, and you probably think I'm weird, but this seems kind of weird, doesn't it? That's very specific numbers you're hitting. It's like, well, I can't say you're wrong or right, man. Sorry. It's like, it's nothing. It's just, I'm very my nature is to be very suspicious for some. I've had to grow up with that. He's like, tell me about it. I was quite suspicious of Mina and her family before they took me in. But eventually it all worked out. For a time. As he goes quiet for a second, saying, well, anyways. As they're like, everyone, tonight we're having pizza. As they're like, what? Yes, as celebration of adding you all to our family, we ordered pizza tonight. As it's like, now I'm sorry, but it's plain cheese and pepperoni. As they start passing out the things, and it's like, and we do not have soda. As it's like, alright, but we do have tea, water, and fruit juice. It's like, alright. As everyone starts eating, Deku's, again, suspicious of the pizza. As Kirishima's like, it's okay, man. They wouldn't do anything to us on the first day. As it's like, probably right. Anyways, as they eat dinner and eventually go to bed, he's like, see ya, Kirishima. Like, see ya, Midoriya. Come on, Mina. As Mina and Kiroshima were like given a special room to be by themselves, seeing as they came together, and seeing as Mina typically does not separate from Kiroshima, being similar to a koala. Like, in the sense, like, if she could, she would just, like, hang on his back. But she can't. As Kiroshima and her eventually go to sleep, Deku's like, ugh. As he falls asleep, getting flashbacks to memories, saying, with Bakugo and such, saying, shitty Deku, as he, like, throws explosions at Deku for being a weak nerd. As eventually Deku gets fed up one day, grabs a branch of from a tree and, like, hits Bakugo with it. As then that eventually gets the principal in school involved when he finally hits Bakugo with a branch after he's been exploding him in the face for constantly. As then eventually parents are called, and Inko starts calling the school out, and so does Mitsuki, thankfully. As eventually Deku's father is not alive. Hero attack. Or villain attack. Eventually Inko, through some means, falls down and dies. I'll tell you that later. As before he's able to get into that bad memory, he's like, as it's like a alarm clock, he said, he's like, oh. He gets, like, does the thing, gets up, and it's like, oh, as one of the caretakers are like, you're up early? He's like, I always get up early. Is there a place where I can just, sit down and do my schoolwork? He's like, oh, yeah, we got your an area set up over here. It's like, good. They're keeping up appearances. As then eventually, he's like, well, that's enough of that. As eventually all the kids start waking up, the people try to, like, get them around 8 to, like, 9. Deku woke up at, like, 6. As he got coffee and started doing work. Like I said, very mature. As he did his schoolwork and got pretty much blown through the entire day, he's like, well, now I'm bored. As he goes outside and just starts walking around. Where actually he eventually just starts running around, like, back and forth. Like kicking a ball or something. Then eventually just sits beneath a tree and just starts thinking. He's like, so, I'm gonna be here until I turn 18 and they can legally kick me out. It doesn't seem so bad. At least I'd have somewhat of an education. Well, some people here aren't that bad. Anyways, as when he's about to get up, there's a ball kicked towards him. As a little girl, white hair, red eyes, and horn. So, like, she, like, stops there as he just, like, sort of kicks the ball back. As then it's back and forth for a little bit. As she throws the ball to him, as he then throws it to, like, sort of passes it to her. As she's just like, she's like, sort of getting a nice little smirk on his face. She says she's Eri, and he says, Deku, or Midoriya, whichever you prefer. She's like, tired? He's like, I've been up for a while. She's like, as she questions, so what's your quirk? He's like, well, I don't have one, sort of a thing. As the people, like, are keeping an eye out for bonds like this forming, because Sophia Lamb made it specific that for her experiment or her new project to work, or the people she's working with to work, there has to be some sort of already a factor already in place for them to be able to successfully, in theory, be sort of not together, well, sort of form the actual relationship that she's wanting to see. So she checked the demographic or whatever of where, like, boys may feel not in charge, but a greater sense to protect girls. And they also chose girls around 5 years old because that's where they figured the mark would be for them feeling the most need to protect them as well as forming a bond with them. As every caretaker, and they have multiple, not just like the two I said earlier, are always keeping a constant eye on seeing which pairs form somewhat of a symbiotic bond. Right now they got Kiroshima and Mina, and that's a given. Now they're keeping an eye on Deku because he's a special interest, a quirkless orphan. They don't have many there in Japan. Like, many are just taken care of, which is weird for them, I guess, as they keep watch over him. Sorry. As eventually Deku and Eri still talk, as she tells him his quirk, as he's like, so you can rewind things to a period? As he's like, As he sees an apple, walks over and tries to climb up the tree and grabs an apple, he tosses it to her. Alright. And you say, as she says, she can't really control it, and she's scared to touch people. As he's like, here, take this. As he tosses it over, it's like, what's this? It's an apple. Try to rewind it as he sits by the tree. She's like, it's okay. Concentrate and focus. She's like, alright. As she starts sort of focusing, as that little yellowish whitish power, that energy that she uses sort of comes out. As then with that she eventually shrinks it to a seed. She's like, alright then. See? Just gotta focus and try to figure out which way in between. Now, I wouldn't say do it to one of these trees, but the trees are important. So with that being said, try not to hurt anything else. Plus, you already have some gloves that you could use to ensure. She's like, yeah. Alright then. Let's get back to kicking the ball. As they start kicking the ball again and again. Kiroshima and Mina eventually come out to play. As in, Kiroshima's like, so, I see you already once taking a liking to you. He's like, I guess so. This is Eri, Kiroshima, Mina. She's like, hello, and he's like, hi there. As Mina is still nervous, as is like, Mina, go and play. As is like, sure. As they run out, and then Kiroshima approaches Deku's like, yeah, I think I know what you mean. I keep on catching the caretakers staring at us. They seem to be looking at kids who are already forming bonds with the younger ones. He's like, see what I mean? But I don't know what it is. Do you? And it's like, I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to see some sort of weird social experiment or something. Seeing if... Sorry again. Now if we can form attachments similar to actual big brothers. Maybe it's a way to make sure we all don't end up sort of villains in their eyes or something. I don't know, but I know it is weird. That's one thing I'm sure about. It's like, alright, let's just keep an eye out. As for months to up to a year, Deku and Kiroshima have been keeping a constant eye out. And Deku has sort of built up the brother-sister relationship with Eri. And has built up a very good friendship with Kiroshima, getting along with him quite well. He still hasn't told any of them how or what happened with his parents. Neither has Eri. Mina and Kiroshima have already given their side, and Kiroshima tells them it's alright, that he understands that not everyone's willing to share that sort of information. So, as after that conversation, another few months go by, every little sister has either paired off with a big brother, quote unquote, or one big brother has multiple little sisters under him. Kiroshima and Deku are like, they find this odd, as they often see Deku and Kiroshima going off and talking with each other. Sometimes they try to follow, but they end up like playing on how they're just talking about Eri and such, and they're always in the vicinity of Eri or Mina, sort of being like how they typically are. They're always in the vicinity just in case something happens. As eventually one day, something from the roof of the building comes sliding down, as then immediately he's like, Kiroshima, look out! As he like shoves Kiroshima out of the way. As Deku like sort of stumbles and falls back, as then this brick comes slamming down and bashes like inward his knee, as he's like, oh fuck! As he's like on the ground, son of a motherfucker, oh god! He like rolls over, his bones poking out, as everyone's like, as all the characters are like, oh, get back, everyone, get back. He's like, my god, as he's trying to keep language to a minimum. Son of a, this dude, god, oh, this hurts so much. As his knees like inward, he's like, okay, keep it in. Can someone help me up and take me to the hospital? Please. And so like, oh yes, as everyone, like, as Eri walks over and just sort of looks at Deku's hand, as she sort of stretches out, just like I said, Deku and her have been working on the whole rewind, as eventually it's just like, as it's like, oh god, as like the knee fixes itself, as he's like, that hurt even more than the last time, shoot! Oh, thank you, Eri, the pain should reside in a moment, but I need bit time, please. As he's like holding his knee. Oh, that hurt so much. Oh, it felt like getting kicked in the nuts. As it's like, oh, good job, Eri. As like the caretaker's pat her on the head. Well, not caretaker, but Kiroshima. As Mina's like, that's cool. As he's like, why? You guys need to make sure that roof is secure. Why was there a brick up there? Why? As the caretaker is just like, oops, sorry, we were doing the chimney thing. That's like, why are you working on the chimney? Well, you see, as it's like, no, what? I don't care. Just, oh, as he like stands up, he's like, okay, I'm good. As they're like, yes, more points. As they like start taking note of protective instincts, extreme protective instincts over your own life. Kiroshima's like, dude, you could have just told me, I could have hardened. Like, I forgot about that in a split second, man. I still didn't want that to hurt. Shit. As he stands up, I'm good. Alright. As then they continue throughout the day, as everyone, like, thought it was gross how Deku broke his leg. Then a few weeks passed again. As Sophia's lamb says, I hope you have prepared them enough. The time has come for them to be part of. As a few of the caretakers are feeling kind of guilty. Several of them try to alert the authorities, but Miss Lamb won't allow that. As assignment to this, and why they haven't had any problems with villains, is she's unleashed her greatest asset, the Big Sisters. As they hear about very gruesome murders, as they cut ties with anyone that tries to alert the authorities with the orphanage, completely erasing their record of them even existing. As children do question where they went, they say, oh, well, they had some family issues that they had to take care of. And a lot of them, as they make up the excuse, a lot of these are volunteers and they live outside of Japan. As it's like, okay. As eventually one night, everyone's just like, huh? What's that? As there's smoke, as Deku's like, oh shit. As he like grabs like something to cover his face with, as he bangs on the door and burst open the door, Kiroshima! As it's like, cover your mouth. As it's like, what's up? As he like gets a whip, he's like, what's... As he starts falling to the ground, he's like, what's happening? He's like, get up, man. Put this on your face. As they like tie it around his face, and Mina's like, what's happening? As he's like, put this on and keep it close. As it's like, move, move, move. As they like start waking everybody up. Something's wrong here. As he like eventually bursts into Aries' door. She's like, what's happening? He's like, put this on. As eventually everyone, like, whoever is awake, like a few big brothers, quote unquote, like, are carrying their little sister, like, what's going on, man? As they're, like, covering their mouth to the best of their ability, as, like, I don't know, as even more gas gets flooded in, gotta get out of here, as they start rushing down the stairs, it's, like, they kick open the doors, it's, like, Kiroshima, break the wall down, as they go to start punching it, it's like, what is this stuff made out of? It's, like, reinforced steel. It's like, don't know, keep focusing on it, as a few guys with quirks start trying to help break it down. A few of them have strength, like, either speeds, quirks, and are, like, trying to punch the wall with, like, not punch the wall, but hit the door with sharp objects. It's like, get the door broken down. As in they eventually, like, it ain't working. As a few, like, one by one, it's like, what the... As everyone starts falling down, one by one. As there's, like, Deku, as Kiroshima and Deku are, like, final one standing, it's like, Kiroshima, as Deku sees a window, he's like... Take care, as he starts rushing towards it, as he jumps out the window, as it's like, oh, as he's like, thank God we're on the first floor. It's like, guys, come on, as he, like, clears away the glass, as it cuts him severely, as he's, like, 14, maybe 15 around this time, as it's like, come on, you gotta go, as they start hobbling along. Deku's like, Aries, like, no timer, you gotta focus on eventually... As they hear the sonic scream, I will not attempt to make the sound. I'm sorry. But it's like a very high-pitched whistle, you could say. This is how I would describe it. So, like, what's that? As they see, like, several red eyes from the door, as it's like, Kiroshima? What the hell are those? As Deku's still drowsy, he's like, the gas. As in, it's like, I don't know, as... Several caretaker, what's going on? It's like, please stop now. It'll be a lot easier if you don't make us do this. It's like, who the fuck are you? What are those? Kiroshima, come on, go. Take Harry, I'll try to deal with them. As he walks over and grabs his stick, he's like, come on. I'm ready. Get them out of here, Kiroshima. You're the best defense. As it's like, very well. As they start to run, but then there's like a few sleep darts. As he's like, pew, pew. And then one's about to hit Eri, but Kiroshima turns hard and like makes sure it doesn't hit them. It's like, I got you guys. As then a big sister jumps from the building, jumps down and grabs Kiroshima by the face. She's like, what the? As it smashes him into the ground using its telekinesis, then levitates him up in the air and throws him, forcing him against the ground, or the building. Then Deku's like, hey, that ain't happening, as he jumps on the back and just starts hitting it with the stick. As it tries to stab him with the syringe, but he takes the syringe and plunges it into the big sister herself. As it, like, surprisingly, pierces through the diving suit, some of the fabric in the diving suit, pierces deep and is able to latch on into her, as in, like, what the? As he, like, as the atom starts getting drained, as he's like, what the? The big sister then, as he takes it and is like trying to keep the big sister from killing him, but her enhanced strength is far superior than Deku's meek little body. He is in good shape, but he's maybe 14 and in good shape, but he's still just a kid compared to this adult woman with super strength, telekinesis, in a suit of armor. Terrifying. As then she, like, eventually presses it down as the caretaker is like, she's like, hurry, he can't have anything else into him. Sophia Lamb ordered that, as it just looks straight up at him, as then it just brings back its fist and punches him out. Then sleep darts are just shot into Eri and Mina as they were trying to run away, Mina threw acid at one of the big sisters, as it quickly melted straight through her hole and got on the face, causing a horrid scream, as Mina's like, oh shit, as then eventually sleep darts, and they fall unconscious, as it's just like, Sophia Lamb says, good, as like they radio in, Sophia, we got the subjects. A few of them put up more of a fight than anticipated, but, you know. put up more of a fight than anticipated, but we got them. As she's like, who were the ones that put up more of a fight? Midoriya was able to rally several brothers and such to break down the door, but eventually they all fell asleep one by one. Eventually he even almost got killed by a big sister. It's like, oh, well, that is news indeed. We'll have people come and pick them up. We'll have them out of your hair in a minute, and you'll have all the Adam you wanted. It's like, thank you. And please, look after them. It's like, that is not what we are here for. That is what the big brothers are for. As she's sort of trying to get rid of the whole big brother protocol, big daddy protocol, to replace it with the big brother. As eventually, as in, like, they're packing everyone up, they're like, eventually, like, heroes are like, stop there, villains! As they've been tracking and have taken notice of orphanages losing little girls, big, like, older guys, and even some adults going missing, because Lamb had to rely on the Big Daddy protocol for a little while. As eventually, as is like, stop there, villains, as they're, like, about, like, at the docks, ready to go on a giant ship, or something. Or ship, or submarine. As it's like, who's there? As it's like several heroes, like Aizawa and such. As it's like, oh shit. As I guess Sophia took a personal interest in Deku. She's like, it looks different than what I thought, but anyways. As then everyone's like, stop there, villains. Sophia Lamb, you are under arrest for kidnapping of minors. She's like, I'm sorry, but I cannot allow you to do that. As then she, like, blows a whistle. As from the water, looking like Jason, jump out of the water several, like, over, like, close to a dozen of big sisters. Which, this is pretty big considering they're, like, her elite enforcers, and they are quite rare. To even be seen in Rapture, their home, but to have 12 of them here as her personal guard, that's quite extraordinary. As eventually they're all as they each go to fight a hero, using their telekinesis to bash them away. As Aizawa tries to cancel their quirks, and he's like, what the? As he's like, they're not quirk-based, they're using Atom! As several of them crash through and, like, stab into heroes, slicing them. Aizawa's like trying to get back using his thing to throw them around. He's like, we're outmatched, call everyone back. We gotta let them go. As several heroes like, but we can still... No, that is the end of that discussion. Sorry, but we have no choice. As in, she's like, I'm glad you see it my way. As then she steps into a submarine as the big sisters are recalled. One went down, and the body was dragged back. As several heroes are either dying, dead, or somewhere in between. Sort of having lucid. Like, close on the brink. As then, eventually, everyone is gone. And it's like, oh, shit. Oh, we gotta report this in. As eventually, their submarine is quite high-tech, so they get out of there. As they are debating whether to make the news public. Since Sophia Lamb begins her experiments. As eventually, the little sisters are turned into, well, little sisters. But the Big Brother protocol is something else. They have a lot more Big Brothers than anticipated. There's a few more than the little sisters, as around there's 41, I'd say, little sisters and like 46 Big Brothers. A few of the little sisters did not survive the whole gas incident, which is depressing. As then Deku's like, get off, as like... Not, this has gone on for a long time. I think I'll end it off here for now to, like, give you guys a nice little cliffhanger. As Deku wakes up struggling away, he's like, what the? As is like, what? Where are we? She's like, you're in Rapture. As she then pats his head, Mr. Midoriya. Welcome to the family. As he's like, what? As then he's like knocked out again. As when you would zoom out, you just see a laboratory where there's several, like, big brothers, quote-unquote. The little sisters are in a different facility, or a different part of Rapture. As they're like, Kiroshima, you there? Like, yeah, Deku. It's like, guys, what's happening? It's like, we don't know. As she's like, makes a large announcement. Welcome to Rapture. As like, Rapture? Wait, you mean the stuff in the... Yes. He's like, let us out of here. He's like, sorry, but I cannot do that. You are all to become part of our family. And you will oversee your little sisters. Like, little sisters. As Deku's like, I thought there was something up. What are you doing? He's like, I'm sorry, but you'll have to wait. Just know, you will all be safe and taken care of. Welcome to Rapture and the Lamb family. As then it's like, no! As like several guys are screaming out, like shaking to get free of their shackles. Once with reinforced, Kiroshima's trying to break out. It's like, oh, Deku's like, in the long haul. Knew this would come to bite us in the ass. And I hope y'all have enjoyed this. Hope y'all continue to enjoy this, and I hope y'all have a nice day, nice night, nice life.